This is Terry Howe from the Talkback Fans Podcast, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show with the incomparable host, Greg Rempe.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Really Big BBQ Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and survival show. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter, which you can subscribe to on the main page of the website. Look where it says newsletter. Give me an email address, and that's all you really need to give me, and away you go. Every Tuesday around noon Eastern, you will get dropped a newsletter that tells you what you can expect coming up later that evening on the show. In about 13 minutes from now, it is the third Tuesday of a month, and of course, that means a regular visit from a barbecue icon in the industry. Some would argue the barbecue icon in the industry, Stephen Reichlin from Barbecue Bible. Project Fire Season 4, I believe, is also launched, and that is happening, so plenty to talk about, Stephen. Plenty to talk about with, When we're talking to Stephen tonight, there's going to be a lot to talk about and ground to cover, if we can say it in that way. After Stephen, we'll be joined by a friend of the show, somebody who is also providing a lot of content to Weber on their social media, the creator of Another Pint Please, and author of one cookbook at the time, Mike Lang, will be joining us. And amongst checking in on the success of that book, we'll also be talking about something that's very important, especially as we get to this time of year, which is proper grill maintenance, making sure that it is in really tip-top shape. Safety first, clean grill, happy grill, all the fun sayings that we love and adore in the live fire industry. Mike will make sure that we are on the right track to making sure the grills are healthy and in proper working order, because a lot of us maybe aren't handy, or we don't think about it. We don't care that much. We'll do it the following year, later in the summer, but we never get to it. So let's make sure that we're starting out 2022's grilling season, if you partake in a season, the right way. Mike Lang will help us do it. That'll close the first hour. Second hour, quarterly guest, founder of the Hardcore Carnivore Brand, JessPryles.com author, of course, Jess Pryles. Jess on location tonight, as she was last quarter. She was on the other side of the globe last quarter, finally making back to her homeland of Australia. Tonight she's shooting either a TV series or a web series. Maybe it's a TV that will eventually be a web series, something along these lines. We'll delve a little bit more into that, but she is on location, so she'll be joining us, not through vMix like a normal guest would, but she'll be joining me through the clubhouse, which I'll be talking about here in just a second. So we'll get all caught up with Jess and the TV show. We'll be talking about some fruit usage. We'll be talking about myoglobin versus hemoglobin. A lot of great stuff. And, of course, we'll end the segment with the game show that's sweeping the nation. Will Jess answer a hard rock / heavy metal question correctly ever? Tonight might be the category that stems the tide. She's been on the losing end forever. But this might be the night that things change and a win streak. Remember, you got to have 2 wins to have a win streak, but this could at least get us over the hump of losing and into a winning category. We'll see how it all unfolds 14 past the second hour. And then closing out the show this evening, I teased it the last couple weeks. The barbecue news acquired the NBBQA, the National Barbecue Association. Well known for that annual event, the I Am Barbecue, whatever year it is event. But in this past, a couple weeks ago, they had the big event there in Fort Worth. And during that conference, the handover was videotaped, talked about. So we'll suss out all the intimate details with the now owner of NBBQA, Cal Phelps, from the Barbecue News, who is the editor of such. And we'll get the insight on the deal, why they decided to take it over, what kind of cash was involved, and more importantly than all of the dealings, what Cal looks to do with the future of NBBQA. I think you talk to a lot of people in private, and they'll tell you it's failing. The membership's not great at all. It wasn't run very well. The list goes on. So we'll talk to Cal about all that, and then how he looks to make it a trade association that perhaps it should have been low these many years. And we'll hear it straight from the horse's mouth, that being Cal Phelps from the Barbecue News and now NBBQA, and that's your show. If you want to jump in, more than happy to have you. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat at BBQ Central Show. For live video feeds of the show, you can go to Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show. You can also find one over on YouTube /RD Rempy. Don't forget, as I had mentioned before, because Jess will be joining us this way, we are live on Clubhouse currently. So if you'd rather hear me instead of see me, no problem. Easily done by using the word or using the app Clubhouse. First off tonight, and I don't know where you are in the country right now, and I'm not get off my lawn old guy, although this is going to sound exactly like that. But I have had it with winter.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Gang, if you don't follow me on social, it was snowing a little bit yesterday, but today it was a whole new level. It was snowing like it was the middle of January or February today. On the way into work, by the way, this is today. This isn't me playing around with nonsense and tomfoolery. This is an actual video of me driving into the office today. This is what it looked like April 19th, 2022, right in front of the school bus. Sorry, podcasters, that you can't see this. But trust me, you see snow. Right in front of that school bus is a plow dumping salt onto the ground. I mean, you see this, right? This is real live snow that is accumulated on the highway. I thought we were past that in April, but nay, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city and Bomb City, USA decides to grant us yet another 48 hours of snow, which I certainly appreciate and adore. Also, remember this, if you're looking for a kettle grill this season, there's a special going on right now over at nsgrills.com, the makers of the Slow and Sear, but you have to get one of the kettle grill packages. Because we are entering in the grilling season, you can get an SNS Grills package 10% off when you use code BBQ Central at checkout. So if you're in the market for a kettle grill and you want the Slow and Sear insert, go ahead and check it out, snsgrills.com. Promo code BBQ Central for 10% off. Now some listener feedback before we get to Stephen Reichlin here this evening. Howard in Ohio writing in, Greg, the sound effects and sound drop segment was refreshing to say the least. Am I the only one that thought the very first drop was Shark Attack? This was great insight to a unique part of the show's history. Thank you for doing it, by the way. I remember Big Chuck and Little John. Love the show. Regards, Howard. Howard, that one's for you right there. By the way, you're not the only one that thought it was Shark Attack. I know for a fact that Len Aberman, host of Baseball and Barbecue, thought it was Shark Attack. Also, Doug Scheiding, Texas Embedded correspondent, thought it was Shark Attack. So you're not the only one. Jason in Iowa writing in, Greg, the background on the sound drops was so great. I finally feel like I am a true fan now that I know everything that is being said. I hate to say that I didn't know, quote, get that weak stuff out of here, but now I do. Regards, Jason.
Get that big stuff out of here.
John in Missouri writing in, Greg, did a professional journalist, that Chuck guy, say doo-doo not once but twice on your show Tuesday night? I'm not an English major, but I'm pretty sure there are better words to pick from. Thanks for a great show, and I do listen on podcast only. Well played, John. Well played. And I'm glad you all liked the insight on the sound effects and sound drops. Steven Reichlin will be coming up here shortly. I'll talk to you quickly in the meantime about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. From award-winning rubs and sauces to American-made grills and smokers, Big Papa Smokers has something for everybody to become a better outdoor cook. You all know the rubs and seasonings, popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in the backyard. Also, owner of Granny's Barbecue Sauce, so if you're looking for a new go-to sauce that will please everybody, Granny's traditional yet powerful flavors remind us of why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place, and they're selling cookers. Of course, we know this. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa's the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? All right. Take a look at the Old Hickory Ace BP, the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. And if you're not sure of what grill you need, call them. Ask questions. They'll help you out. You make sure you get fitted with the right one, 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727, or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. All right? Well, I don't see him in my box, much like I didn't see Meathead last week in my box. I will hold my fingers crossed and say that we will have Steven Reichlin as we come back here from the break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control technology, sellers of ceramic cookers with built-in power draft fans and accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or call them and ask questions. 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continuing to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. Central Lights, it's the third Tuesday of the month, and that means it's time to do a segment with an icon in the industry, a host of TV shows, a creator and host of the very popular Project Fire on PBS, which you can now see, and author of the most popular barbecue and grilling books in the history of barbecue and grilling books. We race over the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Stephen Reichland. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, how you doing?
I am fabulous and appreciate you joining me as you do each and every month here so we can talk some live fire. I see, Stephen, that you had the visit with Guga Foods, who is sous vide everything on YouTube, and you went to the HQ, and you had referenced last month that you were at some kind of quote-unquote influencers dinner before our segment. So I have to ask if he happened to be one of those people last month that you were hanging out with.
He was one of those people, and that's how I met him, and that's how my appearance on Guga Food happened.
How does the invite to this social media get-together happen, or are you the one casting the net to see who you can round up?
No, it was actually a simple text from Guga. Everything is text with Guga, and we may have swapped an email or two, but I'm so impressed with Guga. I mean, first of all, he's a really smart guy, really knowledgeable guy, a super performer. And it was so interesting for me to compare, when I do a TV show, it's sort of big old school TV with a crew of 20 people, and it's a monumental production. And Guga's studio, it's like super high tech. I mean, he turns the lights on by voice command with Alexa or with Siri. Very small crew, super high tech cameras, but an amazing experience.
It's to me, it seems that what he has based his popularity on is something that is the antithesis of what a Stephen Reichland would believe, which is sous vide everything. You're like sous vide nothing.
Yeah, I'm not a sous vide guy. Well, I think his first, that was his first venture into the world of YouTube stardom was Guga Sous Vide. And now he has, it's either Guga Cooks or Guga Food. I think it's Guga Cooks. And he does, that is a straight on full bore grilling show. And that's the one I participated in. In fact, we did a dish that, people kind of know me for on Project Smoke and Project Fire. It's a traditional dish from the Australian outback, grilling on a shovel. And although it's a traditional method, it seemed to have, the social media, outrageous eye pop, jaw drop kind of appeal. So that was the dish that I did with Guga.
When I was watching the Instagram story that you had posted behind the scenes, you were going through his meat freezer. As somebody who has seen all kinds of meat in all kinds of quantities, for his setup, was that one of the most impressive personal collections of meat that you've seen?
Yeah, it was really amazing. And, he's virtually every cut from every steer, from stalwart Angus all the way up to A5 Wagyu from Japan. Come the post-nuclear Holocaust, he's going to eat very well. I just hope there's power to keep that freezer going for as long as it takes him to finish everything.
Stephen Reichland joining me here on the show, barbecuebible.com, the website. So I keep tabs on my guests, try to see what they're up to. And I know we've talked about your desire to get more involved with social channels in general, but I have to say, I don't know anyone else that appears regularly on the show, no offense, at your age, who has really taken to talking the talk of doing it, but you're walking the walk of expanding that social content generation. So in a question, is it paying off the way you'd hope?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, we have to keep growing as we move through life. And when I think about my own personal evolution, first of all, I see myself as a writer. That's what's on my passport. And when I started writing about food, it was longhand on yellow legal pads. And then I remember when I bought my first IBM Selectric typewriter, and that was like, I felt like, man, now I'm a real writer. And I remember when I got my first word processor, an old K Pro, if anybody is old enough to remember those, my first daisy wheel printer, my first TV show. I mean, it was funny. I remember, I would review my rough cuts on those video cassettes, and then type out all my responses. Now it's all done on Vimeo. I can edit in real time. So we keep evolving, we keep moving. And to me, social media is, I came of age in the book world, but kids in their, teens, 20s, and 30s who are getting into barbecue, they're doing it via social media and YouTube.
Do you
so
ever?
I'm glad they let me in the club.
Do you ever, for fun, pull out the old school typewriter and bang out a couple pages just to say you did it, or are you somebody that says, "Hey, technology's here, let's embrace it and not look back"?
Well, I don't pull out a typewriter. I do most of my writing and thinking on a MacBook Pro. But if I have a particularly thorny piece of writing, if I'm working on a piece of fiction or something like that, pencil and a pad of paper. That's kind of how I like to form ideas.
All right, Stephen Reichlin, budding social media star, as he has talked about here on the show, and it's fun to watch your growth. And I'm somebody that's tried to practice it a little bit more as well, especially on TikTok, which I'm seeing quite a bit more gain in viewership, and I'm not sure exactly what the currency is there, but it does seem to be something that I can do fairly easily, cutting up pieces of the show and then putting them up there. People seem to like it, so I'll continue on with that. Why not? Project Fire. This is season 4, right?
Yeah,
Wow,
season 4 just launched over the weekend. Super exciting. These TV shows, I started conceptualizing it roughly a year ago, working on the scripts and the content all summer. We convened in St. Louis, our first urban setting, by the way, for the show at the old Union Station Railroad Station. Started taping at the in October. And now, a year later, the first show has aired over the weekend, and it's just super exciting.
I believe I took in that very first episode, which was you hanging out with the guy from Pappy's doing pork steaks. There was also St. Louis ribs that were going on. There was the
That's right.
Toasted ravioli on the grill, of course.
Yeah, how cool was that, huh?
Yeah, that was, what I find fascinating about that is you're setting it up. Like, hey, this is like the iconic dish. And then it's almost fun to hear you pull back the curtain a little bit and question yourself. And is this something that's really going to work as it's happening? And then it seemed like once that first flip of those toasted raviolis came over, you saw that they were crisping up and the outside was staying on, that there was confirmation in your head that at least the concept not only was a good one, but it was actually proving out right there on live fire. So that was really interesting to watch. But as you watch it back and you see your time with the guy from Pappy's, and I forget the other chef gentleman that you had on for the
David
ribs.
Sandusky, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts seeing it back as a viewer on television?
Well, usually I'm hypercritical, and when I watch these things, I see them in rough cut, and I only see the mistakes and the things I wish I had said or wish I hadn't said instead of what I did. But then when I see the final one, I think, hey, not bad. After 20 years of TV, I might get the hang of this.
Also, I don't know if I've seen a lot of these shows with you in it where you have somebody else to play off of. Adding somebody else to the mix can be a little unnerving. Through the history of my show, I have no co-host. The most uncomfortable I've ever been in the show was when I was down at BBQA in 2018, and I did 3 days of live shows, and I couldn't realize what this feeling I had was as I got going the first day, and then halfway through the first day, I realized I'm sitting across from somebody doing an interview. That doesn't happen on the show. Usually it's connecting like this, or we do it on the phone, so there's always some type of separation, even though we're having a live conversation. So I thought your ability to mix in and play off of somebody else, ask good questions, seemed like you were trying to make them feel as comfortable as possible, was quite a benefit and quite a skill that you seem to have mastered right off the top.
Well, thank you. That was very enjoyable. Yeah, we did a lot of new things this year, and one of them was having guests. I think we wound up having 13 or 14 different guests on the show. Another was with taping in this urban setting, which was, I had my doubts because usually you can hear a pin drop and we're in the middle of nature. And, it was so noisy and so many people running back and forth. But I enjoyed it. The guests enjoyed it. And it's nice to have guests, because they bring new ideas and new skills to the show. And, I think most people at this point know kind of what my style of grilling is about, and it's fun for us to learn together with new people on the show.
And in weeks coming up, of course, you'll see quarterly guest on this show. Susie Bullock will stop by, and Scott from Grillin' Fools is also going to be on there with a host of others, so it's going to be fun.
Yep, both of those are on the show. We did a whole show on, it's called, I don't remember what the final title is. It's either Grilling Under the Influence or Influential Grilling or something like that. But we had three of my favorite social media influencers on the show, and that was really fun too. It felt like, bridging two generations.
So as I'm watching the show and you're getting through the portion through the St. Louis ribs, I'm pretty keen on ribs and how to do them. Always nice to see a little change of pace here and there. But in your Brussels sprouts, you busted out something I'm completely unaware of. Now, through our relationship, Stephen, I think I have bared my soul to you on perhaps how knowledgeable my palate might be on certain items. And here's something that I realized I didn't even know existed. I've never had in my life. How the hell would I even use them? Preserved lemons. Tell me all about these things.
Well, if you take a cucumber and you add salt and you pickle it, you wind up with pickles. If you take a lemon and add salt and pickle it, you wind up with preserved lemons. It's one of the mainstays of Moroccan cooking. Super fantastic because it's got the salty tanginess of a really sharp pickle, and then the kind of sour lemon flavor of lemon juice, plus the sweetness, because don't forget lemon is it's a fruit. I dare say it's one of my top 5 favorite ingredients. It's like adding a bright trumpet, or a ray of sunshine to any dish that you cook with.
So these are something you have on hand all the time. And can you just get them anywhere?
I make my own. The recipe's in Barbecue Bible and also in Barbecue Bible sauces, rubs, and marinades. But yeah, at this point, any gourmet, you can buy them at any gourmet shop. If there's a Moroccan or North African store nearby, you can buy them in bulk, which is great. But you know what? It's super simple. Cut lemons in half or quarters, take the seeds out, pack them in a jar with salt, fill the jar with freshly squeezed lemon juice, and just let them sit for a few weeks. And there you have preserved lemons.
All right, preserved lemons. So give it a try.
You know what?
I'm going to go out and find some.
Yeah, find some. But we're gonna put the recipe up on the website too.
All right. Now within the show, not to pull the curtain back a little bit, you have a fire wrangler. In fact, back in the old days, there was the original fire wrangler that I used to actually know through my old barbecue forum, and that he was a fire wrangler of yours for many years, Rob Boz. And then
Sure.
He had fortunately passed away. And then you have a new guy now who's been on with you for a handful of seasons, Steve Nestor. So let's talk a little bit about Steve. And then before you talk about Steve, what does the fire wrangler do, and how does one guy or gal get this kind of a job?
So the fire wrangler is in charge of assembling all the grills, keeping them in good running operation, firing them up, fueling them, figuring out the instruction manual when they're electronics to master. It's a really important job. And, because with a crew of 20, time every minute passed is so expensive. When you swap out the set from one recipe to another, that grill, the new grill, has to be there, ready, fired up, and ready to roll. I mean, you can't take 30 minutes to wait for it to light. So it's a super important position. Steve Nestor, who by day is a physical therapist, and if you live in the Boston area, by the way, and have a bad back or anything, he's the guy you want to talk to. He came to Barbecue University as a student one year. And he was the kind of guy that, I always make that joke, we finish at 1:00 and, everybody goes to play golf or hike. And I said, well, we got a brisket and it needs babysitting for 8 hours. Steve was the one that said, I'll babysit it. He's just super into barbecuing and grilling. So after 2 years at Barbecue University, I asked him, if he wanted to be the fire wrangler on the show, and he said it sounds cool. And he came on. He did a spectacular job. He's been with us for 3 or 4 years in that position. He also is the fire wrangler at Barbecue University, coming up at the Montage Palmetto Bluff Resort in South Carolina Lowcountry. So if you come to the school, you have a chance to meet Steve and cook with him. But even if you don't, Steve is now writing a lot of the blogs on the BBQBible.com website. He just did a fantastic blog on the trombo, that vertical rotisserie that Mexicans use to make tacos al pastor. He's got a blog that went up today on grilling spring vegetables. So he's a multi-talented guy and terrific griller. And, he has his thumb kind of on the pulse of what people want to know and what they want to grill.
That's a guy you want on your team, I would imagine.
You bet. You bet. Yeah, we have another fire wrangler, by the way, that I'd love to introduce. His name is Jared Reiter, and he helps me with a lot of the social media. Steve could not make the shoot this year, so Jared came instead. And a lot of the great footage you see from the show on social media, Jared took that. Steve does his. Steve has become an awesome photographer and videographer as well. So, man, you watch some of his blogs and you will just see amazing videos of how this all comes together.
So we're looking forward to taking in more and more episodes of Project Fire as they're rolling out week after week, no doubt about it. Last question before I let you go, Stephen, and I appreciate the time. This might diverge a little bit. I have found a new, I'm not going to call it passion yet, but a definitely more than a dabble in premium cigars. I'm trying to expand my palate. I'm trying to find all these nuances and all this other stuff. So I guess the first question would be, are you somebody that would partake in a premium cigar from time to time? Are you a fan?
I am definitely a fan of a premium cigar from time to time. In fact, one of my fondest memories in life, I had dinner with Peter Workman, who was the founder of Workman Publishing, publisher of all my barbecue books. And at the end of dinner, he said, "Come on back to my apartment. Let's smoke some cigars." And Peter had amazing Havana cigars. On the way, we stopped at a Barnes & Noble bookstore, and I got to see a bookstore through the eyes of one of the most innovative publishers in the history of American publishing, which was really amazing. And hint, when you want your book displayed, you want it at eye level so that people don't have to bend over. It seems self-evident, but I never thought about it. And then we repaired back to his place, put on some great jazz on an old-fashioned turntable. I don't remember what we smoked, but they're beautiful Havana cigars. And, got back to my hotel room very late at night. My wife said, "You stink," and I knew that was a successful evening.
No doubt about it, and appreciate you sharing that story with us. You are a guy that is in Miami during the winter months, and it appears here in mid-April it is still the winter months in Cleveland.
That's
as we're taking in the inches of snow here today. However, I know at some point you go back up to Martha's Vineyard. When does the move back north happen?
The move back north this year will be a little bit late. It'll be in June. Actually, in 2 weeks, I'm headed off to Europe. I'm going to be hooking up with the third ship in that Windstar Star Grill by Stephen Reichlin restaurant project. Third ship finally coming out of dry dock. So I'm meeting up with the ship. We'll fine-tune the food on the restaurant. By the way, I guess I can go a little sneak preview. We are launching a sweepstakes on BBQBible.com next week, and the grand prize of that sweepstakes is a week Caribbean cruise on Windstar, so you can experience the food and, who knows, maybe even meet me.
All right. Well, that would be a huge win on all accounts, so check out BBQBible.com, of course. And the third Tuesday of every month, you can find Stephen Reichlin right here talking about all the important live fire topics. Stephen, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming up.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Grill on.
There he is, Stephen Reichlin, right there. So watch BBQBible.com and see if you can't win your way onto the ship. Have some great food, and, as Stephen said, you might get a chance to hang out with him as well. All right. Mike Lang is in the green room. And before we get to him, I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. A couple different lines to choose from if you so desire. If you want to save some bucks, if you don't need all the latest and greatest technology and lights, Choice Line, that's the one for you. It's a Davy Crockett size, good for most medium-sized to smaller families. Get two if you have a really big family or you like throwing big parties all the time. Now, if you want some more of the dynamic features and benefits, Prime Line is going to be the one you want to take a look at. This one has peak and ledge sizes, peak being the biggest, ledge being the middle size, which would be comparable to that Daniel Boone on the Choice side. But here you get Wi-Fi, you get app connectivity, you're able to do a whole bunch of stuff right there on the app without having to go outside on the cooker. Regardless of what line you get, both will accommodate that pizza oven insert, so make sure you go to the dealer nearest you. Find that by going to greenmountaingrills.com. Visit the dealer, get educated, buy the one that's best for you. Get educated, and away you go. You will be very happy that you went through the dealer experience. You can also visit the website and get pellets and sauces and rubs and other accoutrements to really complete that Green Mountain Grill cooking experience. That's greenmountaingrill.com. Greenmountaingrill.com. We're back with Another Pint Please. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion being brought to you by cookandpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookandpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also go to amazon.com to purchase as well, but I would suggest going to cookandpellets.com. Also, while you're there, check out all the cool things that they have aside from the pellets. My next guest, one of the most respected live fire cookers out there today. He loves cooking on his fleet of Webers. Let's head to the hotline and welcome back the creator of Another Pint Please website, friend of this show, Mike Lang, joining me. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Greg. How are you?
Are you down with preserved lemons?
You know, I have never done that, so perhaps.
Have you never done it because you were never familiar with it until tonight, like I was yesterday?
I'm familiar with it, but it's one of those things that I've got a long list of to-dos, and that's not made it on there yet, so perhaps in the near future.
Fair enough. Are you a big family Easter celebration guy?
Oh, yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
All right, so what's on the Lang Easter family menu?
Well, I'm very lucky. Every Sunday since the beginning of COVID, my family has celebrated what we call Triscuit time, hashtag Triscuit time.
Yes.
So Sunday dinner with my folks who are still in town. My siblings are across the country. We get together. We have dinner. My dad still grills at the ripe old age of 83. So with Easter, for him, it was lamb chops this year, which was one of my favorites, that or a rack of lamb. Those are by far the two high points.
Have you always been a fan of lamb? Is that something you grew up with?
You know, I have actually. I was pretty lucky. You know, we grew up outside of D.C. in Northern Virginia. So at a very young age, I was introduced to a lot of food that perhaps I might not normally have been introduced to. My folks loved to eat and cook. The cooking came along later in life, but certainly the eating was there. So a lot of experiences I had at a young age sort of shaped where I am today, culinarily speaking. And lamb was definitely one of those odd early foods I would have in high school that I glommed onto.
Yeah, a couple years ago was the first time I had rack of lamb, and it was actually at Noah and Amber Glanville's house when they lived just outside of Louisville, owners of Pit Barrel Cooker, before they moved out west. And I had only heard of lamb in talking lore and historics and anecdotes because my dad had talked about how he had liked lamb maybe as a kid. It would never made an appearance in my house. I don't know if my mom had disdain for it, and that was just one of the things that was just never going to happen. But I don't ever recall seeing it as I grew up, so it was just never on my radar. And then for a travel volleyball tournament when we were out in Kentucky, Noah said we could stay with them, and for dinner that first night there, he said, hey, we're going to have rack of lamb, and it's going to change your life forever, and he cut a chop off, threw it in my mouth, and he was absolutely right. I was completely taken aback at medium rare. It was perhaps one of the best bites I've had in recent memory, and easily a quick converted fan of lamb, and now I'm talking about it, proselytizing it everywhere I can talk about. What aside from the chops, you are a rack of lamb fan as well? Do you have a best way to prepare it?
Yeah, rack of lamb's easy. Obviously, it's less to move around in the grill and still a perfect medium rare. It's like you just discovered. It's sensational. And even at most grocery stores these days, you can go there and find a pre-Frenched, pre-packaged rack of lamb. Now, granted, costs are kind of crazy these days, but reasonably priced. Take it home, and within probably 20 minutes, you've got a crazy dinner you might not have thought of otherwise. And I can't recommend it enough.
You are the author of One Beer Grilling. How's it doing?
It's doing well. I'm humbled and honored that so many people have enjoyed it, have reached out to me, favorably reviewed it on Amazon. Thank you. It's been a crazy year. You never know what to expect, let alone take on a challenge like that. It's funny having Steven on before me. 25 years ago, I still remember thumbing through the barbecue Bible.
Yeah.
And granted, there are no photos in it. And today we're also visual, and I'm visual. But even back then, he put together this tomb of live fire cooking, which captivated me and made me hungry every single time. So to fast forward all these years and have a book of my own that's done well as far as I'm concerned, I could not be happier.
Do you comb through the reviews, or is that asking for potential punishment that you don't otherwise need?
It's a double-edged sword. You try to keep an eye on it. You read with one eye open. But thankfully, with 25 years plus of public service, I've got pretty thick skin. But you got to see the good and the bad in the world. Otherwise, you really can't appreciate what you got.
Do you have another one in the works right now? Do you have 2 Beer Grilling coming up soon?
Yeah, it's not yet. It's in the ether. I think about things like that as always looking forward. I'm sure I will one day, but nothing that's actually burning right now through my schedule.
Do you have a book just that you're accumulating in case something comes up, and you have it at the ready, like a manuscript?
Not a manuscript, but I'm constantly taking notes or taking pictures. And I love being influenced by what others are doing, whether I'm eating out or with friends. So, I use Evernote, which is a wonderful online app for any platform I'm on to grab a picture or a thought or idea. And I just have a notebook called Future Ideas, and I pluck things away. And one day I hope to kind of dive into it.
A lot of fans of Mike Lang know your work from creating content for Weber. A lot of us are Weber fans, if not devotees. So how does the relationship with Weber continue on here in 2022?
Oh, fantastic. I could not be more honored to be what I always kind of call the clutch guy for Weber. It's been a relationship now for over a decade. I even look back through COVID when the company was on lockdown and couldn't travel. Mike went to New York City twice for photo shoots and had to relay things, through either FaceTime or through the production company, and be kind of the Weber hands-on person to make things happen for them through this, crazy difficult time for all of us. So that's just really, it's a special place in my heart. And of course, as anyone knows that watches me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, I'm constantly creating content here in the backyard, which is, Weber shows across all their social channels and platforms across the globe. And it's a true, amazing honor.
10 years ago, how does that relationship even start? Were you just somebody that was a fan of Weber and was sending in your work going, hey, I'm a big fan, check me out? Do they reach out to you seeing that you are creating good content, you have a artistic eye? I mean, everybody knows you take incredible photos. If they're following you on Instagram, there always seems to be this great food shot, but then there always seems to be a photography or a videography type lesson in it with an f-stop or this kind of a lighting or something, some type of knowledge that you're passing on. So how does that relationship go?
Yeah, it's funny. Only once did I ever reach out through customer service, no less. This has been a long time ago about my blog, which predates our relationship. But they're an ad agency at the time, found me and had purchased a photo. And that really started what I call a slow burn relationship that is built up over time and trust and hard work. And it's taken a long time, but I mean, I could not be more happy with what I'm doing and where we are today. It's an amazing company with so many crazy talented people. It's wonderful to be a part of it.
Mike Lang joining me here on the show. AnotherPintPlease.com is website, and of course, author of One Beer Grilling. So I have you on here tonight, Mike, to talk about what perhaps some of us would consider to be the abundantly obvious task of proper grill maintenance, getting your grill ready if you are somebody that operates within a grilling season. We don't, of course, because we are men above men. However, not everybody does that. So grilling season, not necessarily here in Cleveland, is here. I mean, I want to say it just because of the calendar, but the snow says otherwise outside. And as Steven Reichland says, a clean grill is a healthy grill. So let's talk about some maintenance practices for various types of grills. And let's start off with a grill that seems to be getting an increasing amount of hate amongst the live fire community for some reason, which is the gas grill. Still wildly the most popular grill that anybody has. Most people have them, especially if you have multiple cookers, you probably have a gas grill. So let's talk about proper gas grill maintenance, things you want to do as you ramp up here for the grilling season.
I mean, let's not deny it. All winter long, if you're like in the Midwest like we are, you're probably not going to be ripping it apart and cleaning it. But now that spring is here, the weather's getting better, take advantage of a good day. Clean those burners, clean out the cook box, clean out the drip tray. Go inside and make sure all that the filters for the burner tubes are clear of debris. It's not a lot of work, but once you do it, you're going to push yourself through the next season. And then come in the fall, hit it again. But the gas grill needs some TLC. It might not seem it. And you know what? It's a great clutch player. There are nights when I come home, I want to fire up charcoal, but I also want the convenience of gas. And I go out and light up a gas grill, and I get just as good a meal on that as I do on a kettle. It's just a different way of coming about it.
Mike, should you do it more than once a season? Like midsummer, late summer, should you do it again? Or is that dependent on how much you're really cooking on it?
It's how much you cook on it. You know, even for me, I'm probably doing it really deep clean only twice a year. But that does not mean that in between cooks, I'm not cleaning off grates, or I'm not cleaning off the flavorizer bars, or of course, getting the drip tray emptied out, which, you know, especially as you see things like flat tops and other devices coming to a gas grill, you're probably going to introduce a lot more fat and a lot more debris that needs to be cleaned more regularly. So you got to keep on it so you don't have a problem or a fire or any kind of other catastrophe when all you want to do is have a great dinner.
Kettle grill seems a little less complicated, but what are the best maintenance practices for a kettle cooker?
Scrub it out, clean it out. If you're a real diehard kettle head, your kettle will probably look brand new almost 11 months out of the year. In that case, you can go all the way down to 00, good Lord, whatever, steel wool, duh. To go down to the porcelain and keep it clean and keep all the debris off there. Knock off all of the carbon and the soot that will form inside the lid during prolonged cooks. That way you keep it looking clean, and when you put food down, you don't have debris dropping on it. It's not a lot to clean, but of course, also don't forget your ash and scrape that out and clean it down. But it's probably the easiest one to keep on moving and to keep producing all season long.
Now, this cooker, a pellet cooker, isn't something that you should be cleaning seasonally. There should be a regular maintenance and cleaning schedule with this type of cooker. So what are your best tips and advice for somebody that's coming into a pellet cooker this season?
Pellet cooker is a whole different beast. And I know when I first started using the smoke fire, it was new to me. I kind of equate it to driving a barge versus driving a speedboat. Every handful of cooks expect to get in there and clean out all the ash and debris that's left over from the pellets through the process of combustion. I'm about to the set of buying a portable wet dry vac just to make it easier to clean out everything and to keep it at tip-top shape. You're going to need to do that to avoid any sort of flare-ups or fires. So it's definitely going to need a lot more TLC, but also the convenience factor with that TLC is off the charts, because a lot of nights when I come home, open up my app, fire it up, and then dinner is just a short term away.
Are there any other cookers that we're forgetting that deserve some kind of maintenance? Of course, as you had kind of referenced a couple minutes ago, flat tops seem to be all the rage, the Blackstones, you know, all the way up the Evos and so forth. Do they require any different kind of maintenance?
Well, I mean, if you're using a flat top, that's going to require maintenance every cook. If you want to keep it looking good and functioning well and being clean, on having a drawn out clean up process before your actual cook of that day, you've got to stay up with it. And don't forget about your water smokers as well, like the Weber Smoky Mountain Cooker. Those require cleanup, right away, because if you're going to smoke on it for a weekend and not touch it for a few weeks, you run the danger of building up any kind of mold inside of it. So you want to keep it clean, keep it fresh, and make sure you give it a good scrub down and wash down after you're using it, because then that grill will probably last you for decades to come.
One of my secret tips on the Weber Smoky Mountain, because that was my first cooker ever, sometimes I would close all of the dampers, bottom dampers, top exhaust, throw the cover on it. Maybe I didn't get back to it for a month or whatever. And as you said, all of a sudden you go take that top off, you undo everything, and you're wondering, oh, did it snow inside the Weber Smoky Mountain? Oh, that's not snow, that's mold, white fuzz, and it's gross, and you got to build the fire in, burn everything out. What I realized is you just leave one of those bottom dampers open, leave the top exhaust vent open. Now you have at least some kind of airflow moving through it to at least hinder a bit that growth of mold. But we all have Weber Smoky Mountains that have them, know the fuzzy stuff that grows in. So we certainly appreciate the maintenance tips here and how to keep those cookers safe as we get through the grilling season. Anything new recipe-wise, Mike, that you are working on that you can leave us with?
Yeah, no, actually, I'm excited. The last year, I've been doing work for simplyrecipes.com, and Simply Recipes falls underneath the huge Meredith digital umbrella, which includes Food and Wine and Serious Eats and Liquor.com, as well as all of their other broadcast avenues. And for them, it's been nice to be the grilling voice, where I wrote and photographed a bunch of different grilling guides for them. And then also this spring, working on some other grilling avenues in terms of recipes that'll be coming up this May and June. So it's been a nice to have, I use the recipe a lot. Even if you're a griller, you can convert anything from a conventional stovetop and oven to the grill or a smoker. So I always encourage looking outside of our own little realm for ideas and inspiration. And now, although they've got also grilling tips and everything I've been able to provide, it's also a great avenue for fresh ideas. And it's great content. They thoroughly source it and thoroughly test it. And it's a great honor to be a part of them as well.
I asked Steven on the way out of his segment if he was a fan of premium cigars, so I'll ask you as we close out here in the first hour. Are you a partaker and enjoyer of premium cigars?
Oh, yes, I am.
Oh, yeah? Do you have a brand of preference?
Oh, the Oliva. Oh,
yes. A fellow Oliva
yes.
fan. Yes, very
Yes.
good. Do you like a particular model of Oliva?
Yeah, the Milani 5.
Oh, yes.
It's if I'm pronouncing it right, I always get these things wrong. Yes, it's just it's a wonderful cigar to sit out back when the sun's going down and spend an hour or so just drawing on it. I've always loved dabbling in cigars. I've never had the deepest dive in the world, but when I find something I truly enjoy to savor and kind of relish in a long day, the Olivas have been it's easily my top brand.
The things that I've come to find out about cigars are this. Cigar people are as passionate as barbecue people about their cigars. They have the same type of back and forth arguments and debates that they have with cigars that we have with barbecue, if you could put them on the same kind of a level. And then the cigar forces you to take time. Maybe that's what I like about it the most. You have to make time. This isn't a cigarette. You can't go out and burn it 5 to 7 minutes and then go back to whatever you're going to do. Depending on the size of the cigar, you need to allot 45 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours. And there's puff rate and all these other magical things that I continue to find most interesting. What do you find most enjoyable about the cigar experience?
I think that I have to take a pause in life. I'm constantly 24/7, as I always say, on the hamster wheel. But I know when I'm going to light up a cigar and take a draw on it, I'm going to dedicate myself to being then and there in the moment and enjoy it. And it's the kind of break I need. The doctors may not appreciate it, but you know what? I do.
Yes, and in the end, the doctors don't appreciate much anyway, aside from charging you the fees. And aren't you going to be happier that you've had some Milanios in your life when it's all said and done anyway, forcing you to take that time? Of course. Of course.
Yes.
Here's Mike Lang. He is the creator of Another Pint Please and the author of One Beer Grilling, our friend here on the show. Mike, always appreciate the time.
Greg, thanks so much. Always so good to see you.
You got it. You too. There he is. Mike Lang right there. And he's a fan of the Milanio, which I am a huge... In fact, in my humidor, off to my left, I have a Milanio shelf. I have the the Oliva shelf, I guess I should say. But I have a number of Serie V Milanios in Robusto, also the Toro size, also the Gordo size. That's about as big of a ring gauge as I like. But then also the nubs and various Serie O, Serie V regular. Love Milani, or Love Oliva brand cigars all the way. So we agree on that. All right, before we wrap the first hour, let me talk to you quickly about David McDowell and David Leans, the website first. DavidLeans.com. Leans like not fat leans. DavidLeans.com/BBQ. Here we are, middle of April. You've been arguing with yourself, making deals with yourself about how you're going to be in better shape, take care of the heart, be around for your family, all this nonsense. But you're not really doing it. You've committed here in the brain, but you're not putting rubber to the road. You need some help. You need somebody to hold you accountable. That's where it works. That's why you need David. Now, he's not going to charge you $500 a month like some of these other jamokes for a canned diet plan and 1 to 2 check-ins a month. Partnering with David gets you access to a resource who's available effectively 24/7. So now for $200 a month, you can send him messages around the clock. You can video chat with him for a little support, or talk about talk about meal plans for the week. Maybe you're at a restaurant, you're vacillating on what you should choose, best option-wise. Take a picture of the menu, send it to David. He'll give you the best options to choose. He's there for you. He's going to hold you accountable. Don't wait. Get your health on track in 2022. I'm doing it. You should too. David's personal guarantee to you. If you're honest and you make the effort, you will succeed in losing the fat. And if you don't, he'll refund you 100% of the investment. It's just that easy. DavidLeans.com/BBQ. That's DavidLeans.com/BBQ. Do it now. And we're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show brought to you by Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Pro, Fireboard 2 Drive. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth if you have smart speakers. Fireboard fully integrated with both the Alexa and the Google Assistant. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. Fireboard 2 and the Fireboard Spark. Don't forget about that one. We thank Mike Lang for joining me last segment, talking a little bit about maintenance of the grills. Wally Inskeep. Greg, it would be easier for you to smoke weed and all of your belongings wouldn't reek like cigar smoke. Get that big stuff out of here. Wally, I appreciate the suggestion. However, if weed tastes like it smells, I don't want any part of that. Get that big stuff out of here. If it tastes at all, cigar smoke is way more aromatic and less ass-smelling than weed. Weed is bad smelling. The aromatics are not great. So, it's not my cup of tea. I'll stick with the cigar, take the time, enjoy the flavors. I don't think you're going to hold weed in your mouth and pull out bits of barnyard and fresh hay and citrus. I don't know that for sure. Maybe weed connoisseurs do that. Wally, do you do that? I like the cigar. I like the ritual, lighting it, cold draws. Again, figuring out what flavors. I'm trying to work on getting that guy from Cigar Bliss. I talked about that book last week when Meathead was sleeping. Getting him on the show so we can learn about how we can expand and calibrate our palates. So we'll work on that. He'll be a guest here at some point before the year's out. Also, we want to thank our first guest in the first hour as well, aside from Mike. So we're going to point to the second hour, refresh your libations. I will do the same, and we will have a ball in the second hour as well. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show.
This is Brian Mayer, host of Hot Sauce Weekly, and you are listening to BCRN, all barbecue and grilling all the time.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan. So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate sushi or wiener.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Hey, just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. You have found it if you missed the first hour. Don't worry about it. We're recording. You'll see it tomorrow in podcast fashion. Second hour will be up on Thursday. We'll talk about Friday here in just 1 second. We talk about live fire barbecue and grilling things here on the show, and it happens from Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast, and Bomb City, USA. Still to come on the show this evening, Jess Pryles in about 13 minutes from now. Cal Phelps to close the show. Don't forget you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, /BBQ Central Show on Facebook and Twitch for live video feeds. Also /RD Rempe on YouTube for a live video feed where there's a raucous chat going on. So if you want to chat with a bunch of other Centralites, hop on over and check it out on the YouTubes. We're live audibly on Clubhouse as well. That's how Jess Pryles will be joining us in just a few moments. I have to make a correction here.
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
On the way out of the first hour, I said Wally told me I should be smoking weed. That was not.
We'll do it live.
Not.
Andrew, you are not the fire.
That was not Wally. That was Guy the Cooking Sam telling me to smoke weed. So Wally, humble apologies. That was not you. That was Guy. Guy, I will tell you the same thing I told Wally. Not my cup of tea. You can also, if you want, and you're a podcaster, get a podcast ad-free experience through two different ways. Patreon.com/BBQ Central Show. Or if you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe to a ad-free experience right in the show itself. Click on that banner and away you go. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday, episode 225, April 24th, 2012. Who's featured this week? Well, of course, it's fourth Tuesday of the month. In the 9:35 segment, Derek Riches. This is a unique best of. It's almost a prophetic one because in this episode, we talked about specifically the new Broil Master that was coming out back in 2012. A lot of you probably have no idea what Broil Master is. Maybe you're not familiar with the brand. Cast aluminum heads. I'm not talking about PK. There was another OEM out there that was making cast aluminum cookers, and that was Broil Master. There's a really good chance that if you live in an older neighborhood, there might be a gas grill that's on a post that was shoved into the ground, that was piped into the gas. that's probably a Broil Master cooker. That thing is never going to rust out or fall apart. You might have to change the guts out every once in a while, but not the head. The thing is not going anywhere. That's why you probably still see it on a post in the ground somewhere. There was a guy that used to live across the street from me when I lived in Euclid who had one of the, like he was the original homeowner back in the 60s, early 70s when he was originally buying the house, and it had a Broil Master gas grill in the backyard. I was like, you ever use that? And he never used it, but he said he could just turn the gas on and use it if he wanted to. He just had a bunch of other Weber cookers that he was more fond of. Anyway, long way to go. In this episode, Broil Master had come out with a new grill, and it was all about ripping off the then popular Holland grill. For whatever reason, Broil Master decided to make a rip-off version of Holland. Broil Master, however, did a very nice rip-off. Typically, you would find a rip-off being cheap, not really working that well, inexpensive knockoff, but not Broil Master. They brought the right tools to the game, if you will. And Holland Grill's patent had run out, and now Broil Master decided that they were going to go out and take the Holland Grill concept, but make it better. The thing that was unique and bad about the Holland Grill was that you turned it on, and there was only one setting. It had this really big heat deflector shield that sat over the heat, and there was no heat adjustment. It was on, there was on and off, and you learned how to cook it. So you either love that about the Holland Grill or you hated that about the Holland Grill. By the way, Holland Grill out of business a few years ago. Now, at the end of this segment on Friday, you hear Derek and I talking about pellet cookers taking over the market in 2012 and what the outlook for that niche was going to look like down the road. Derek called for a pellet war, and he was right. Derek said pellet cookers taking over the backyard is a bit naive, and at that point, I think he's more wrong than right. But it's always fun to hear what the environment was like 10 years ago, hear us talking about where it might go in the future, and guess what? The future's now. There's a lot of pellet cooker companies out there. There's a lot of pellet cooker options out there. There are a lot of pellet cooker price points out there right now, and it doesn't look to be slowing down at any point soon in the pellet cooker market. By the way, as I had mentioned, Holland Grill at the beginning of this promo, again, out of business. Sorry. If you're looking for a Holland Grill, you'll have to Google it and see what it's all about because you can't go buy one anymore. But I knew a guy down the street from me in Wycliffe that had one. I had cooked on one a number of times at his house when I was hanging out at his house. And it was a fairly enjoyable cooker. Pretty simple. Turn it on, it's on. Turn it off, it's off. All indirect. That was it. You could buy a infrared sear burner attachment for it. But the main cooking chamber itself was either on or off, and that's it. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or segment again on the show that might be lost in the archives, email John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com. Let him know you would like to hear, and he'll do his best to meet your expectation for a future Best of show. Upcoming shows for the Barbecue Central show for the rest of this month include the start of Season 3 of American Idol Barbecue Central Show Edition next week. Who's ready for that? Who's ready for no less than 4 months of what I'm going to bill as pretty average to below average singing between me and Doug Scheiding from Texas and John Solberg from Michigan and Rusty Monson from the great city of Utah, all vying for Season 3 championship honors. John looking to repeat on the heels of his 2021 victory in Season 2. So we'll see how that unfolds, and we start next week with that. Don't forget, the lead singer and co-founder of the band 3 Years Hollow, one of my favorite rock bands, will also be singing in as an expert judge alongside the three daughters, who have a razor's opinion on what's good or bad. And I got to tell you, I've seen the song titles that are coming up. I already have mine in the can, ready and locked and loaded. Doug's is getting worked on by official sound guy of the show, Haniel Trisna. John's already locked and loaded. I've seen the song choices here, and we're either going to do really well right off the bat, or we are not.
Andrew, you are not the fire.
Or we are not going to do well. I can tell you that. Also, upcoming shows. Derek Riches will join us next week. And CEO of Solo Brands, John Maris, all scheduled to join me the balance of this month, which is basically next week. John will actually be leading off the first interview segment in the first hour. So very excited to talk to John after having had to reschedule him because he didn't have the proper equipment. So he'll be ready to go. Now, I am here for you folks in full transparency. Sunday was Easter. I ordered a 8-pound prime grade rib roast from Kevin Green at the Butcher Shop, sponsor of the Best Moment Show. Gang, I blew it. I don't know what happened, except I can only draw back to this conclusion. I did not calibrate the thermometer before I used it. Typically, I will do that, I don't know, every handful of months. Because I'm not buying any low-end crap. My stuff is calibrated, good quality stuff, but I blew it. So what I thought was going to be medium rare plus, cresting ever so slightly to medium on the outer sides. It was medium plus in the middle. Ruined. I threw it out. I couldn't feed that to my family. We had cheese sandwiches instead. So just know, while everybody else in the whole world is telling you how great they are at this cooking, I screw it up every once in a while. Unfortunately, I'd rather screw up on something a little less expensive. But I did. And I'm here to bare my soul to you. So don't be ashamed. It happens. All right, Jess Pryles loading into Clubhouse, and we'll get to her here in just 1 second. I'll talk to you quickly about Yoder Smokers, designing and building all their products right here in the States, and building pride through craftsmanship and world-class customer service. That's the backbone of how they've built the company. The approach translates into what can be a truly bespoke-style product that elevates gatherings with family and friends. Honored to have a trusted place in the backyards of America. From pellet grills to wood-fired offset and charcoal grills, consistent blue ribbon flavor has become synonymous with the Yoder Smokers name. Make no mistake, Yoder Smokers' flavor-driven design is unique to each style of pit, and their team has developed their cookers to perform time and time again while outlasting the competition for generations to come. It's this generational thought that's rooted in their handmade products and defines the integrity of the core values. American-made quality and endless flavor, those are the benchmarks of Yoder Smokers. Visit yodersmokers.com to grab yours today. That's yodersmokers.com, and we'll be back and have a visit with Jess Pryles right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the BBQ Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. Head on over to smithfield.com for recipes as well as tips and tricks from well-known live fire cooks like Darren Worth, Giles Cridland, and my next guest, Jess Pryles, with mouth-watering flavor, no artificial ingredients. Smithfield Fresh Pork is quite simply some of the finest pork money can buy. It's the trusted choice of top cooks for use at competitions and at home. Go to smithfield.com, and if you're a competitor, go to smokingwithsmithfield.com and report your first place finishes in the shoulder and ribs categories. My first guest in the second hour, the CEO of the Hardcore Carnivore Brand of products, also a spokesperson for a number of high-profile brands, including Smithfield Fresh Pork, as I just mentioned, a book writer, social media, and internet sensation, as well as a Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famer. We welcome back friend of the show, Jess Pryles, joining me. Hey, Jess.
Hey, Greg. What's up?
Hey, I am excited to have you on the show. Are you ready to talk some live fire tonight?
I am so ready, you wouldn't even believe it.
All right. So first of all, happy belated birthday this past weekend.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So thoughtful.
You appear to be a huge fan of Mexico. You go there over the weekend. I see you're taking trips down there way more than I have. I've gone exactly 0 times. So however many times you've been that many more times than I have. So being a fan of Mexico, like, what do you like best about it?
It's so culturally diverse across its different regions, and more than anything, look, I think we're all here because we love to eat and enjoy food, and I really go on food tours more than anything. But I get so inspired by the different cuisines and trying new flavors and new preparations, and in some ways, we were in Puebla this past week, which is a very historical and colonial city. So it nearly has, in some weird ways, a European feel because of colonialization and beautiful old architecture and, churches built in the 1500s, and it's only a 2-hour flight. So, yeah.
Have you ever been caught in a dangerous spot down there?
No, it's like, it's the same as the States. It's so large and diverse, and some cities are safer than others. Puebla is a very, very safe city. There are places that I wouldn't currently go, and there are others that are quite safe relatively. So I've not ever had any problems in my trips down there.
What's the bucket list Mexican resort or city to go to?
I still want to get to Guadalajara and San Miguel de Allende, but so far Oaxaca has been my favorite. So these are less resorts and more like cultural towns, but I tell you, I eat well along the way. And the really cool part, honestly, is that in these small towns, it's all live fire cooking because it's just much more convenient. So there are like these anafres and grills, all charcoal fired, set up in the middle of the streets, and most of the grill mistresses are women.
So here's a unique question for me to ask you. I had this guy who's actually on the west side here in Cleveland. He's got a pop-up / catering business, Street Tacos. He spent a lot of time in San Diego covering news. He was a reporter, but also did a lot of food research going down to Tijuana, where I guess he had become a favorite visitor of street taco stands, did a lot of digging on how to do it right. He said the key ingredient, and I don't know what your experience with Tijuana is or how varying the street tacos are from one side of Mexico to the next, but he said the key ingredient was mesquite charcoal. Not like mesquite wood thrown in with charcoal, but evidently this is charcoal that is coming from mesquite wood. Is that something you have experience with and or eaten before?
I mean, we know, are you talking about it as an ingredient or used to bake them?
This is used to cook specifically.
So used in the grills?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we use that a lot in South Texas as well because it burns really, really hot. It's also the only tree that grows in South Texas, so it's sort of out of necessity. And of course, South Texas is border with Mexico, so not surprised that it grows all along there too. They get a great heat out of it, and it gives a lot of heat and it burns really well. So I'm not surprised. But usually it's actually the fat content that makes the biggest difference between the tortillas and if they're using like heirloom corn and stuff like that too.
Cinco de Mayo is coming up in a few weeks. Are you a big fan / celebrator of that day?
If you're asking me if I like margaritas, Greg, the answer is yes.
All right. So what's the best margarita recipe?
There's one on my website for a like charred burnt pineapple margarita that is pretty great.
Is pineapple the best thing to come off a grill?
It's the best fruit to come off a grill.
Not the best thing ever, though?
No, because meat.
Of course.
Get that free stuff out of here.
That's an inside question, but I'm not even going to get into it. Are you familiar with, or have you ever used something called preserved lemons, which I just learned about yesterday watching a Steven Reichland video?
Yes, they're very common in Moroccan cuisine.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the second confirmation of that. How do you use them best? Or do you use them like quite a bit?
I don't use them a lot at all. They're really, really salty because they cure them in salt, basically, and then they develop this weird mushy texture, and they're very specific to that Moroccan tagine. So it's a very, very unique flavor that doesn't lend itself. Most of my cooking is kind of more Mexican inspired, especially with the ingredients that we have access to in Texas. So it doesn't have a huge role there. Fresh lime juice will sort of take its place.
Jess Pryles joining us here on the show for recipes, jesspryles.com, her website. And if you want gear, hardcorecarnivore.com. So check those out here while we're talking. There appears to be a hill that you are going to die on, which is something related to blood /myoglobin/hemoglobin. Do you have any guess as to what percentage of this population believes that the liquid that they're seeing in their meat bags or on top of their meat as they're cooking is actually blood?
I'm going to say 75 to 80% of people would probably assume that the juice on the plate after you cook a steak is blood.
Now, what is it?
It's myoglobin. That's my hill. So obviously hemoglobin is in blood. Myoglobin is what gives meat its color. They're both globin proteins, but they do very different things. And it's literally just a protein that has an iron heme attached to it. So if you think about iron when it rusts, right, it's kind of what meat's doing when it's changing color. As it oxidizes, it changes from the red cycling through to the brown. And that's why meat can still change color even after, post-mortem. But it's literally just liquid because meat is 70% water, and that protein, that's just color.
Do you fear, through your own firsthand experiences and interactions with people, that you can provide them with the 100% correct answer and information to confirm what you're saying? And if they just don't believe it, they will continue to be, they are right, and that's it. Perhaps worse than that, they will also continue to disseminate said misinformation.
100%. It's the old you can lead a horse to water thing. So, I guess for your listeners who don't really know, I've embarked on this big kind of meat myth-busting journey, especially now that I've been finishing off my meat science graduate course. And I'm just coming up against, you would have seen from today's video, all these people that you can present them with facts, you can present them with the science, and they're like, nope, I'm not going to listen to you. Well, obviously, I'm not making the content for those people, and I don't care if I've changed their minds or not. What I care about are the people who go, didn't know that. Feel a lot better because I do know that now. Thank you very much.
I almost feel like we want to change the people's minds that feel like they can just blow off the right information. For the people that go, hey, I'm learning something and that's great. I do agree with you. That's nice. But I feel like that it's not incumbent on us, but we have to find a way to break down this communication barrier that seems to be getting thrown up at a much more prolific rate than it ever has on a number of different topics, to say, hey, this is really what's going on. And people should say, oh, okay, this is going to... Can you imagine if we lived in a world where instead of 75 or 80% of people thinking that's blood, it's 5%? Wouldn't that be a much better meat universe to be living in?
It would. It's a meat alternate universe, and it sounds magical. I honestly, in all seriousness, I would love to get to a stage where expertise is kind of revered again, which is kind of what I was talking about this morning, that, we're in this weird time period at the moment where everything is questioned, and not in a healthy way. we've stopped sort of giving any reverence to actual experts and kind of leaned more towards blue check marks. And as someone who has a blue check mark, I can be skeptical of it. But it would be really nice to get to a place where we do have respect for people who have dedicated years of their life to to science and facts. That would be nice.
Yes, it would be absolutely fabulous. Now, outside of that, you have been, I'm sorry, let me ask, when are you done with the class? Or when do you become a professor?
I won't be a professor. I'll be a meat scientist at the end of it. So I actually have one more research project this semester, and we're doing, I'm working with Smithfield actually. We are going to be running a formal like meat laboratory scientific paper experiment on whether it is better to cook bacon with water in the pan or not. Like a definitive, absolute study into it. So I'm going to be flying up to Iowa. We're going to be doing multiple sensory labs and group tastings and experiments and tests, and that will be my final paper. And that should be done in August.
Is there a thought that water makes it better somehow? Doesn't fat and water not mix anyway? Wouldn't there be a tremendous amount of popping and such shenanigans?
So the theory is that it could work one of two ways, and this is what we want to figure out and prove, is that one, that the water sort of provides a gentle heat whereby the bacon can cook a little more gently than with direct heat. So by the time that the water boils off and the bacon finishes crisping, it's actually crisp but more tender. But there's also a question of, since there's water added to the bacon product, is cooking water, does it also make it more juicy because it allows water to remain in the bacon, or can it actually take on additional water because of the phosphates and nitrates that are in the bacon? So there's a lot of different variables that we're looking at as to why it works and not just if it works.
Very interesting. So we'll be tracking the progress of that whole project and see what ends up being proven. And hopefully you'll share that with us when that's all done. So looking forward to that.
I'd love to.
So you've been in the middle of shooting a barbecue show called BBQuest. But as I was doing a little research, this is actually not a new show. There's maybe 2 seasons already behind it. You've been, at least in one of the seasons that I was scrubbing through, taking some lady around to some really cool places in Austin back in 2019 or whenever it was. So tell us a little bit about the show that you're doing now, and perhaps the history of the show as you know it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually in Houston right now because we're wrapping up the series. This is season 3. So BBQuest, you can see it on Hulu right now. And I was in episode 1 with Kelsey, who was the host. And up until now, it's worked by like Kelsey goes to a different city in Texas and joins a local to kind of see the different barbecue in the city. So I did Austin with her. My friend Daniel Vaughan did Dallas with her, etc. This season, they decided to go what they're calling beyond the pit and also visit ranches and feed yards and really connect more of the ag side back into things. And so they asked me to actually join her as a co-host to kind of speak more from, the expert side of things. Kelsey does an amazing job. Like, she's a native Texan and she's curious about barbecue, but has never sort of been as much of a meathead as most of your listeners. So she asks the questions for those who are sort of getting into it, and I get to ask the questions for more meat nerds and kind of connect it. So it's really all encompassing. So we hit 3 barbecue joints in the past 24 hours and we're headed to a ranch tomorrow.
What's the best barbecue you've had on Quest this current shoot?
There's not a single. I can tell you Panther City is always incredible. I had brisket today at Pinkerton's, which was wildly good. Actually, amazing Brussels sprouts at Truth Barbecue yesterday. We were at Goldie's, which is the #1 on the Texas Monthly list. Like, we've eaten a lot of good food. There hasn't been a bad meal.
Is Goldie's worthy of the #1? And if so, what makes it #1 in your opinion?
I really enjoyed it, but if I'm being completely honest with you, I've had brisket that is as good as theirs. And I think that there's a lot of people in Texas right now who are just nailing this incredible standard of brisket. And even outside of Texas, it pains me to say it, but it's true, that the standard universally has just elevated to this point where you really can have great barbecue in a lot of different places.
Daniel had written an article, perhaps it was a couple months ago, that said Texas brisket had plateaued. I think plateau maybe was the wrong word that he used, but he was basically saying that every place, and well, by and large, every place in Texas is nailing a great brisket. So if you're going to a barbecue restaurant in hopes of being able to delineate which one is better over the brisket, it's going to take more than that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. So I would probably say, peaked, but perhaps you use plateaus because peak maybe implies that it's on the decline, and it's certainly not. It's just that we've hit the gold standard now. Really, the only variable is the human element. So, a lot of the pitmasters who have their names on the door, they're not necessarily the ones who are in the pit room cooking every day.
Right.
And humans are fallible. And meat is a natural product that is variable. So, there are still great barbecue joints that can have okay days if the pitmaster is, not having a great day himself or herself, or something's off, or they're not running even quality control, because not every brisket cooks to perfection. And if you're not there to feel and touch and use that craft element, which is being hands-on every piece of meat, and not serve the stuff that isn't up to scratch, you'll have a not so great day too.
The last question that I'm asking all of my guests here this evening before we play the game is, are you a partaker / fan / enjoyer of premium cigars?
No.
At all?
Nah. I like the smell of them.
You don't like to smoke one?
No.
All right. Hey, Jess, you want to play a game?
Love to.
All right. You know what time it is.
I do.
It's time to play Which Song is the Best, which means we take a group, usually a metal group or a rock group, and we take two of their great songs, and then you pick which one is the best song. Unfortunately, you have been unsuccessful in all of the attempts so far, but we look to change that this quarter.
It's uncanny, isn't it?
I know. So before we do that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Jess. I have a company called Hardcore Carnivore, bit of a meat nerd, like meat myth busting, and enjoy being on the BBQ Central show.
All right, and she's a Hall of Famer. Already, I am quite nervous, as I know you are too. So,
Yes, certainly.
Let's end this nonsense here right tonight. Between these two songs, which is the best Metallica song? Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets?
Master of Puppets all day long. All day long. All day long.
Final
all
answer?
All day long. Final answer. Lock it in. Don't need to phone a friend. And I don't even care what you say at this point, but go ahead.
Is tonight the night that we get on the winning side of what song is the best? From Metallica's two options, is it Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets? Jess Pryles says Master of Puppets. And wowee, look at us.
My God.
You are right. Unbelievable.
I can't believe this. I mean, I can because it's a superior song, but wow.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
I knew as long as we kept playing this once a quarter, at some point, you would have to guess the right song. And tonight's the night, right here, April 19th, 2022, while it's snowing damn hard here in Cleveland. Jess Pryles is saying definitively, and I can confirm, that Master of Puppets is much better than Ride the Lightning. Anyway, in the meantime, go to JessPryles.com, and you can go to HardcoreCarnivore.com, and you can find Jess right here every quarter on this show. Jess, appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you again in 3 months.
Thanks, Greg. Obey your master.
All right, there she is, of course. Jess Pryles from Hardcore Carnivore, obeying the match. She won! She did it! I'll send her a copy of her own book, and I will sign it, of course. That's what I do. I knew it. As long as we kept at it, at some point. Now, some of the other ones, up for debate, but there's no debate. And I love Ride the Lightning. Off the Ride the Lightning album, that's my favorite joint, but nothing beats Mast. All right, Cal Phelps is in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I'll talk to you quickly about Primo Grills, because what do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they are fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. And we love that they can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday ceramic lineup? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker, not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker. So you're only limited by your culinary imagination. The most anticipated accessories are out there right now. What are they? The Primo Grill Rotisserie, the Primo Grill Pizza accessory. They have the easy lift hinge now, the top and bottom air dampers. More to come. Go to primogrill.com. Sold through dealers only. That's right, only through dealers, just like Green Mountain Grills. So go to primogrill.com. Find a Primo dealer near you. And then get educated. Find the one that's right for you. Find all the different sizes. And then get the one that is best for your particular environment. Primogrill.com. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll be back with Cal Phelps from the Barbecue News and the NBBQA. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories. Whether you are a beginner or professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. The continued business that is being done in the barbecue world does not seem to be cooling off as we plunge headlong into Q2 here in 2022 a few weeks ago. This man, along with his company, did a bit of business himself as the Barbecue News acquired the NBBQA, the well-known live fire trade association. Here to talk about the deal and what it means for the future of NBBQA is none other than Cal Phelps. Hey, Cal.
Hey, Greg, man. Appreciate you having us.
I am absolutely excited to have you on here this evening, Cal, and appreciate the conversation that we're about to have. So let's start off right now by covering the latest news that I had mentioned in the open. The Barbecue News acquiring the National Barbecue and Grilling Association, or NBBQA. What's the win for you?
Man, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know. It'd be a whole lot of work.
Cal, can I stop you here just 1 second?
Yeah.
Can you hit the top of your microphone real quick? It's not on.
Yeah. It's not on.
No. Are you able to jump into your settings real quick and make sure that the sound input is set to that microphone?
So I hear myself pretty.
Yeah, the output's probably right, but the input probably is not set there for whatever reason.
You are the man.
Yes. All right, now you're gonna have to close out of the browser and then come back in, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll when you jump back in. All right, no problem. So, we will wait for Cal Phelps to join us once again. In the meantime, We are very excited to have learned last segment that Jess Pryles has gotten off the schneid and won What Song is Best. She has picked Master of Puppets being better than Ride the Lightning, which is a Metallica song, of course. And Cal Phelps rejoins us here on the show. Hey, Cal.
Is that better, man?
100% better, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. So let me re-ask the question. What's the win of MBBQA becoming part of Barbecue News?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. It'll be a whole lot of work to make it a win. But the biggest thing is that the opportunity is there for us. With the transition is not going to be real easy. It hadn't been easy to this point so far, but the support is behind us, and that's what matters. You know, going before with MBBQA, it's all been about folks and their network, growing their network, people who's been there, done that, sharing information so that as they go through their growth pattern, whatever it is, no matter what sector of barbecue they're in, they've got somebody to lean on to grow their network so that they hopefully won't make the same mistakes that have been made previously. But the win-win will be for the future of barbecue. I mean, the honest thing is if we can keep it going, keep it growing, some of those who are coming up who want to get into the barbecue world business-wise, restaurant-wise, catering-wise, competition-wise, can learn from those mentors who are members now. Those will be the ones who will be the winners, much like we were winners when we were first getting started and tapped into those guys who had been there and done that before us.
I can't imagine, Cal, that MBBQA was any type of revenue generator, maybe the opposite, in fact. Did Barbecue News pay money to acquire? If not, what were the deal terms, and was there any negotiating involved?
There's a whole lot of praying. I don't know about negotiating, but
does praying work?
If praying works, absolutely it does, man. I'll be honest with you. To make it legal, basically what we've done is we've took a nonprofit and then we've took it and changed it to a for-profit business. The difference in doing that, the nonprofit organization is run by a volunteer board that is elected. Of course, a for-profit company is run by owners, whoever owns that business. When you look at the structure of how they're set up, MBBQA for years was on a roller coaster ride. It seemed like we would be up, it seemed like we would be down. And that, that's just, I hate to say this, but it's a nature of a lot of nonprofits. You see different boards come in, you see members, leadership change, and with that comes new ideas and stuff, and looking back, and we talked a little bit yesterday, we hit on this and we were testing all this stuff out that I totally screwed up, but the notebook is thick of a lot of ideas that have come previously. I mean, it is really thick, but they never come to fruition because before those ideas really got going, they changed. The members would change, leadership would change, and they never really got off the ground because of that deal. So moving forward, we got a whole stack of stuff that we thought were pretty cool ideas, great ideas that never really got kicked off and got started. So
Cal Phelps joining me here on the show from the Barbecue News and the managing partner, now the MBBQA. Was it for sale, Cal? Were you approached, or did you make some kind of an offer? I mean, I know you were a little bit more in the underpinnings of the operation itself, but did you see it struggling and say, hey, we want to figure out a way to salvage it, and this is the best way we see how to do that? Or did they come to you and say, hey, you buy this dog for $1 or what?
Yeah, so basically, treasurer and president, Ken and Barbara Latimer, come to us, and for the last couple of years, as board members, they had took over the day-to-day operations of MBBQA. So there was no employee, no management group running it, which most of the time those guys are the ones that handle the day-to-day operations. You usually have some kind of group or some kind of manager who takes the phone calls, pays the bills, gets all the board meetings together, organizes meetings, organizes conferences. But MBQA set up as a 1-year deal conference, and that raises enough money to pay the bills for the next year, to keep it afloat. So that was how it was set up. But when the COVID thing come, for the last 3 years, there's been no meeting since 2019 until just a few weeks ago. So to say it was struggling is an understatement. And with those guys having huge full-time jobs already, taking and trying to run an association, they went way beyond the call of duty to keep it afloat the last couple of years, no doubt. Cutting expenses, every dime they could stick back and save, they would. So, and that's what kept it afloat, made it get to the point where it is now. And they said, "Hey, look, we're tired, we're done, and we got to figure out some kind of way. So here's what we would like for you and Janet to take this thing, run with it, and we think you guys are the ones capable." So we come home, talked about it for, I don't know, a month or so, 3 weeks hard, prayed a bunch, and we wound up taking it over. So the legal stance of all that, when you take if we set up as another nonprofit, we would be in the same situation that the current board is in now. So we decided for our sake, it would be better to turn it to a for-profit. And to do that legally, there has to be some change of money in that involved. So basically, we bought the National Barbecue and Grilling Association for $1. That was the monetary change that made it legal. And in doing so, we just wrote a guarantee that any MBQA member, we would service those memberships until they expired. So the basic member who had just joined would not have to come and rejoin the new group, that we would just take them in, and everything would just transition, hopefully seamlessly.
So we don't need to spend a lot of time looking back. I mean, there's certainly a storied history of MBBQA, and as you said, there's been a lot of ups, there's been a lot of downs, and we can leave it at that. How's it going to operate going forward? What are your biggest opportunities for improvement and things that you'll tackle first?
Man, the very first thing actually happened a few weeks ago in Fort Worth. We actually videotaped every session at the conference. We talked about this 10 years ago, and we never come to fruition. But now we'll actually be able to offer. So if you're an MBQA member, you weren't able to go to conference, you'll be able to jump in and attend that conference to some degree by watching those sessions. If you're next thing we're going to be doing is satellite events. We've got one of those already set up in August. And I don't have that information in front of me, or I'd share it with you right now. But be at Big Dan's place up in Pennsylvania, Big Dan's Barbecue. He's a MBBQA member, and we plan to do that maybe 3, maybe 4 times a year. Just have small preview type conferences, I guess you could have, or whatever, like previews where we can go around the country and introduce what MBBQA is all about. That's one of the things that'll change. But the conference will still be a yearly deal. We got site visits signed up now to go and see where the 2023 conference is going to be. But we hope our deal is going to be, not changing our mission of bringing in those guys who want to help and mentor the next generation of barbecue to come.
What's the biggest misconception that the MBBQA has to overcome and that you hope to overcome under your leadership?
The good old boys club, man. I've heard that for years and years, that we're just a bunch of good old boys and we just get together to sit around the bar and drink and tell stories. Man, I've seen too many lives change from information that's shared. A lot of it come from around the bar, there's no doubt. And some of those classes are pretty informative as well. A lot of information shared there, but that one-on-one networking and those lifelong friendships that are made at the bars afterwards, suppers that are attended afterwards. Those are the information sessions when lives are changed and people interact with one another. They go to work, make partnerships. Those are the things that is a huge misconception. That is, if you talk to somebody who's been around the organization and seen it for a while, they'll tell you straight up. The Good Old Boys Club may be, but it's a total different than just a normal Good Old Boys Club for sure.
So you had mentioned that the annual conference was really the thing that paid all the bills and the people that were helping. It was the big revenue generator of the year. When I was there in 2018 doing live shows, the last time I was in Fort Worth before a couple of weeks ago, I had heard there was talk before the show that Amazing Ribs was looking to partner in some way in order to make it be a trade event for folks working in the industry, but also reserving a couple days at the end for the average person or fan of barbecue and grilling to come in, meet some of their favorite folks, learn some things as well, maybe even have some vendor exhibits. Is that something going forward that you would entertain, or are there other outside of the box partnerships or exhibitions that you would look to do to help generate and make money for the organization, but be able to expand it for not just industry folks, but for, everyday ham and eggers like me that just might be a fan of the cooking?
Absolutely, man. We have, I learned a long time ago, when you start putting up stop signs, you'll wind up getting traffic tickets before it's over with, and you'll wind up in jail or out of business or whatever. So, no, we never close the door. We never want to close the door to anybody, especially our members. And yeah, absolutely. Amazing Ribs, those guys do a tremendous job in that backyard realm. And if we can partner with those guys, MBBQA has already done that to a certain extent. If you've ever, well, you were there 2018, so you saw the deal at Billy Bob's. And so a huge deal. I think we had 30,000 people come through that afternoon, and we had all those guys doing a sampling event or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we'd love to do. And we're not going to put a stop sign or turn a cold shoulder or whatever toward anybody.
Cal Phelps joining me here on the show, the editor of the Barbecue News and now the managing partner of MBBQA. Let's change gears here for a second. Cal, what's happening over at Barbecue News?
Man, Barbecue News is smoking, buddy. We just getting the truck loaded up. Got some Oklahoma Joe smokers and B&B Charcoal. We're doing a 10 event deal with those guys coming up the next few weeks, where we're going to go out to Ace Hardware and hold some cooking classes, and I'm excited about that. And then I'll all start Thursday. We'll do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday here in Southeast Georgia at the Ace, Harris Ace locations. And then we'll continue up toward the Atlanta area for a few weeks. But, man, brand new issue. We stopped for a few minutes. We were making corrections. The May issue is getting ready to drop to the printer here in a few hours. So we're burning the midnight oil tonight. But, hey, man, I had to stop and talk to our man Greg for sure. So,
well, I certainly appreciate the time tonight, Cal. I know you're busy getting a bunch of stuff done and trying to get everything transitioned over there for MBBQA. Sounds like things are headed in the right direction. Love to keep tabs on you, see how things are going, and really appreciate the insight tonight. Thanks so much for doing it.
Hey, man, appreciate you. And like always, man, if we can help you guys in any way, don't hesitate. And that's for all those millions of folks listening in too, man. If we can help them, phone number's 800-385-0002, man. Give us a call. We'll go to work for you.
There he is, Cal Phelps right there. Thanks, Cal. The editor over at BBQ News and managing partner now at NBBQA. So definitely a interesting story to hear how that all comes around and now what will be happening as things progress. So appreciate the insight and the candor there, as we always do from our guests. Before we wrap it up here tonight, let me talk to you quickly about Vortic watches. Back in the day, watches were made to be worn in the pocket after World War II. Wristwatches became the thing to wear. Pocket watches quickly became an afterthought, finding their ways into sock drawers and scrap heaps. Quite simply a tragedy. Enter Vortic Watch Company, helping bridge the gap between America's storied watch manufacturing past and bridging it to the present day, where wristwatches are finding incredible popularity once again. Here's the coolest part. Each watch that Vortic makes is unique and one of a kind. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out VorticWatches.com today, and we're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back, and we thank Cal Phelps for joining us from the BBQ News, and now new managing partner of the National Barbecue Association, telling us all about how it had existed and what his plans, at least in the immediate future, are going to be to get that bad boy rectified and heading in the right direction, and we appreciate him spending time with us doing that. Let's go ahead and get on out all the way back in the first hour. Stephen Reichland, BBQBible.com. Then we talked with Mike Lang, AnotherPintPlease.com, and maintenance on those different types of grills and cookers that you have, getting ready for grilling season, if you are somebody that partakes in a grilling season. Second hour, Jess Pryles. We talked about the new streaming show that she's doing, BBQuest. We also talked about myoglobin, hemoglobin, and how perhaps 75% or more of the humans in this country believe that it's blood on meat and not blood, no matter what you tell them, and provide facts. And we closed it out with Cal Phelps from BBQ News and NBBQA. Big show planned for you next week. John Maris, CEO of the publicly traded Solo Brands and Solo Stoves, will be joining us. Also, Derek Riches. And also the beginning of Season 3, Barbecue Central Show American Idol edition, with special professional guest host, lead singer and co-founder of 3 Years Hollow, Jose Urquiza, joining us. So a huge show planned for you, of course. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Yo, pod! This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.